Okay, so I'm Stuart Worth, and we're recording our time together because there's this thing called the coronavirus going on, and seemed like we should kind of socially distance ourselves and yet meet together. And so we're just gonna kind of talk about stuff. I figured we can't not talk about the fact that there is a virus out there and all that. So I thought I'd just kind of start with, how are y'all doing with this? Like, initial feelings, thoughts, emotions with all of this experience. Anybody go first?
Well, I work a busy job where I have like over 80 people come in my store, and it would be nice if the people there would like not be right in front of me and like understand when we have signs all over the store saying please stay 6 feet away from us, and they're right in front of my face, coughing on me, and they're old. So it's a little frustrating to deal with people that don't realize how inconsiderate they're being. Like, cause like me and my coworkers are just like, what if this person has coronavirus? You know, like what's gonna happen to us? And people are just not taking it seriously when they're just walking out and about and not like respecting people's personal space. So for that's kind of my annoyance with everything.
Yeah.
Others?
I mean, I got kicked out of like my living space because of this. So that's been a big transition. Not only getting kicked out of my housing, and then also it's like all university stuff has moved online. All my classes were face to face. I'm supposed to graduate this semester. I can't walk at commencement anymore. So it's like a lot of things are just falling through the cracks. It's like when you think everything's working out perfectly, it's just all falling apart.
Big sad.
Others?
So I'm not actually a student at UWF. I'm a student at Perkins School of Theology in Dallas, Texas. So it's been really weird for me because I came to Florida for spring break, and then and now Dallas is in shelter in place. So like nobody can like socialize with friends anymore, and like you can only leave your apartment or house for like grocery shopping or like essential things. And so there was no reason for me to go back to Dallas to sit in my apartment alone for the next 2 weeks because I would not be able to socialize with anybody. So it's kind of weird to like be in Florida 11 and a half hours away from all of my schoolmates and like trying to like, hey, can we work together on this project because we have to, but I am over here and y'all are over there and none of us can be in the same room together.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of like a weird process, and it just makes you feel really distant from everybody, just because like I am distant from everybody, but like the situation is distancing in the first place. So it's just like a weird, like I'm very disconnected, more so than I thought I would be.
I think like it's sort of relating to like the jobs and everything, like what we talked about. I got laid off from my job just because I work in the food industry, so we can't like no one's going out to the restaurants, so I can't serve anybody who's not coming. So I got laid off on the job, but I'm enjoying the unemployment benefits. But I'm gonna get the job back once it all opens back up again. But yeah, I mean, other than that, I had to be forced out of the dorm, living in that home with a family again and everything like that. So weird enough too. Like we just got a beach condo and we're moving out there while all this is happening. So I mean, it's not
So much sympathy.
right, yeah.
Beaches are
Woe is
closed.
me. Woe is me.
It.
I mean, it's not bad, but it's weird because like, I mean, I don't see everybody all the time,
Yeah.
like none of my coworkers, none of my friends, like I'm just chilling at the house, majority of the time because everyone's like, "Oh, I'm, stuck at home," or, whatever the case may be. So I think it's just a weird culture shock.
Yeah,
because
like all my friends are in town from their colleges, and like we can't really do a whole lot because of the virus and everything. It's like that's also frustrating too. It's like these are people you get to see very rarely, but they're like literally minutes from you, and you can't really do much with them.
Right.
It's so annoying.
And two, if you did plan on doing something with them, I mean, everything's closed. I mean,
Yeah,
what are
like,
you going to do?
yeah, what are
Even
you
the
gonna do?
beach is closed.
Well, I live with 4 other people right now, and we all live in an apartment probably the size of this entire space.
That's fair.
That's
fair.
I think I'm going to kill them. So
I'll hide the body.
Tell us how you really feel.
Yeah,
I want more social distancing. Get away from me.
You don't have to answer if you don't want to.
What?
The social distancing and the coronavirus, or like everyone else was saying, I didn't get like kicked out of my residence or anything or like that, but a lot of things, because I'm an art student, like all of my classes are hands-on, like studio based, and everything had to be transitioned and moved online, and that's really hard to do when like we don't have the supplies or the easels or the paints and stuff, and weren't allowed to get in the building to grab all of that stuff because everyone was on spring break, and then all this crazy stuff happened, and so that's weird, and our professors trying to like be lenient with us is weird too, because we want to create things but can't really figure that one out super well. So that's been intense.
And UWF has pretty much said, don't come back. Like,
Yeah,
you're done.
like
For this,
everything's
like,
pretty much just closed.
I know there are people that are still living on campus, the ones that like had absolutely nowhere to
People
go.
who like really needed to live on campus, they like could apply for housing for the rest of the semester, but pretty much they were like, if you can go home or you live in the area, get out.
Yeah.
And they told us to get out, like they were like the day the email was sent out or within 2 days.
Yeah, like everyone was like moving back in the day that all happened.
And the people who are like forced to move out, like that aren't staying on campus, we have specific days to come back to like take all of our stuff. Because so far, all of our stuff is still on campus.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Hey, actually, technically, for any UWF housing people, you can go back and get your stuff. Just the like resources that make moving in and out available, like easier, won't be available until those days for your specific building. But
I know what I'm doing tomorrow then.
public service announcement there.
Yeah. Simone, instead of spreading all the secrets.
yeah.
Well, I get, like, have y'all thought about, I mean, I'm always thinking of, like, the weird big picture of, like, I mean, this is already epic history
Oh,
thing.
yeah,
Even
for
if,
sure.
like,
We're living in
if
history.
the virus went away right now, it'd be like, remember that weird time where
Yeah.
we all got kicked out of school and, but then there's also the, like, okay, this could be the beginning of a really sad, like, this is like a very slow 9/11 that we're going through, where like people could get much more sick, many more people could die, kind of thing. And so it's like, there's that angst, and then there's like, in some ways, like, hey, we're out of school, we're out of work, I get to play with my kids a lot, which has its ups and downs, but then there's like the overall, like, there are people who have lost their jobs and are, there are businesses that will close, the economy will be affected. And,
Oh, for sure.
so there's all of that kind of angst that, even though not, my life is pretty good, in a weird way, I have that feeling of like, well, other people are suffering, and therefore I can't enjoy the wonderful weather we've had, which is so rare for Florida. And
Yeah, like it's 70 degrees outside and like not humid at all.
yeah, like the mosquitoes are not biting me. Like, what's up with that? It's so weird.
Yeah, but like I do agree with you. Like, I think this is gonna like change a lot of our culture and our society. Just like, let's say it got cured today, I think a lot of our institutions, the way we run things, a lot of things we do are going to be forever changed. Like, this is not like a one and done thing. Like, oh, a hurricane happened, we're just gonna rebuild and pretend like it didn't happen. Like, I think a lot of our stuff is going to be changed, and our society is gonna be different because of it.
Yeah, it's gonna breed a whole new generation of germaphobes. And
Bro, the anti-vaxxers, I feel sorry for them.
Oh,
Well, it's also like there are a lot of things right now in contracts that don't even, because it's like I was talking to, I think it was you, about people who need to get refunded for the housing.
Yeah.
Because that's like a good $700, $900 for 1 month of housing.
Not
But
to
a
mention
lot
the
of people-
$3,000 for like the residents. You know.
Yeah, so it's like, people who get kicked out, and it's like they paid that. Is that coming back to them? We don't know. So I think a lot of things, and it's kind of like, you probably, when you signed on for a job, you weren't thinking in your mind, you weren't like, oh, you know what, I could get fired due to a pandemic. Like, that's just not something that people really think about. But it's definitely one of those crazy things that does happen every so often. And it's kind of like 100 years ago, almost 100 years ago, the flu pandemic was happening.
Yeah. And also, like, I remember, because, like, like, months before this, like, the Democratic debates and stuff were happening, not to get, like, political or anything. But, like, I remember, like, Andrew Yang was, like, talking about, like, how, oh, we need to give all Americans $1,000. And, like, a large, like, group of conservatives were like, oh, no, that's so messed up. Well, now they're like, yeah, give us that money. We need to fix the economy. And it's like, literally months ago, you were saying it's a bad idea. And now you're here because our economy's not doing as good, saying it's a good idea. So I think, like, even, like, from a political standpoint, our minds are going to be, like, changed on how we view things and how, like, we deem things good or not good.
Simone, back to what you were saying about contracts and stuff. I've heard through grapevines and avenues that they are working on that kind of stuff and trying to figure out how they're going to reimburse students in some sort of way, shape, or form, and especially the graduating seniors that were supposed to walk. I know that they're trying to get you guys your money back for at least caps and gowns and stuff like that. They're trying.
Yeah, I know. But of course, it's like, it's like you never always think to include every single possibility within something that involves, like people's livelihoods and especially money. But it's, it's one of those things where it's like you're signing this contract and you're like, everything's going to be fine. And then next thing you know, you're out so much money or you're out of job because it was one of those things where it's like, this wasn't included, we could fire you, or this wasn't included, we can kick you out. The government told us we had to. We need to do this.
Right,
yeah. Kind of jumping in on that, too, it, like, robs people's moments. Like, I've been going through, like, news articles and stuff about how people, like, miss their child being born and, funerals. I mean, that's stuff people can't get back.
Like, my grandfather's brother passed away a while ago, and they're having, like, their, like, celebration of life on Easter. And it's like, who's going to go to that? Like, it's just the congregation of the entire line of that family. And it's like, is that a good idea to even go? And, like, my friend, he's a senior in high school. He's missing out on a bunch of stuff. He's like, he's worried that he's not going to be able to walk his senior year of high school.
They've
and
already
like,
canceled it at the schools in my home county.
Like, and that sucks. And, like, then there's, like, think about all the student athletes. Like, a lot of them, it's your, like, senior year, like, of college or even high school. And it's like, they can't play the sport that they've been playing for years and they love and they put so much dedication into, Like, they just announced today that, like, the Olympics are being postponed by a year. And, like, that's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. So, like, I don't know. Yeah, it's weird times.
I have friends whose weddings are being postponed because you can't have more than 10 people in a room.
Yeah, like, that's, like...
10 people doesn't even include their immediate family. So things that they've been planning and put a lot of money into and all that kind of thing. And, like, I have a friend who postponed their wedding to, like, the beginning of July. But then, like, their vendors are like, we'll let you postpone it till then, but, like, we're not guaranteeing that you're not going to have to postpone it again. Which, like, wedding planning is really stressful and a big deal. And, like, if you've been spending 6 to 8 months or a year or however long you've been spending on that and then being told, sorry, you can't get married, like, sucks. Like, that's not a fun time either.
Yeah, no.
It's crazy.
I mean, I think a lot of this is kind of prioritizing things down to its essence. Like, for example, with a wedding, like, is it the wedding or is it actually marrying somebody, hopefully, so it's like, do we actually need to spend $20,000 on a wedding,
That's
which
true.
is, or that kind of thing,
They can't even get, like, the marriage license anymore. Like,
Are you
DMVs
serious?
and stuff have, like, shut, like, a lot of DMVs have shut
Oh
down.
my
and, like,
gosh.
or, like, really lessened them, so you can't even get your marriage license to
That's
even
crazy.
legally be
but I
married,
mean,
whether or not.
I would still take that next level. Like, okay, what does a government license
True.
mean?
Yeah,
you
does-
know,
do you need
like
a
what
document
is
to-
marriage? Like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, to each of the thing, like, the overall, like, looking at what is necessary. That some things we're just going to be like, well, I used to think about that, but now I got bigger problems. Like,
Right.
and that kind of stuff. So.
So-
What? Go ahead.
No, it's cool.
I think also, though, like, as you talk about that, like, we'll probably will rethink marriages and all that stuff, but I think after being isolated for so long, we'll want people to get married and have weddings because
Yeah.
it'll be like, we want to see each other again. And so, like, it might like, though it might change like our perspective of marriage, it might also give a big huge boost to the wedding industry of people like, I want
Sure.
to celebrate with my family, I want to be around, I want to have a party, I want to do that kind of thing, because we haven't been able to for so long. So I feel like it's going to be like a weird like combination of the two, where like some people are like, well, I mean, we've been living together, it doesn't matter, why would we need marriage? And then other people are gonna be like, no, I need to
we gotta
see
do it
every
now,
person
'cause,
I've
like, we
ever
don't know when
known
the next,
ever.
like, Corona 20 is gonna happen, you know.
Oh yeah.
Or the
Yeah,
COVID
I mean,
20.
there's just gonna
Don't
be
put
a
that on me, or-
giant spring back in, you know, everything that's been happening, especially people who are actually like quarantined. Cause,
Oh yeah.
I have a friend who is Brazilian. She was supposed to fly home, and she told me that when she flies home, she was like, I will not hug my parents. I will go straight to my room. I will stay there for 2 weeks. She was like, we do not go anywhere unless it's for like groceries or essential needs. And then it's kind of like, you know, imagine all of these people who are literally just stuck in a room, and it's like, apparently, I'm not on social media, but it's like all the memes of people going, my routine for today,
Oh, yeah.
I put on makeup and then I go to my living room. It's like,
Right.
Yep.
it's like, this is where I work. And I'm like,
You should see the TikToks, man.
Oh, yeah.
They're it's crazy. Some of these
It's
people.
honestly crazy to think about like how dependent not only our society but like the world society depends upon like being social and
we
like
are social
human interactions.
people.
Like literally seeing like all these concerts, all these sports events, all these everything just stop to the whole, and how much effect that has on the economy and jobs is truly kind of crazy. You don't really like think about it that much just because like it's a part of the way we live in our everyday lives. But when you like sit back and look, you're like, man, we are all so dependent upon social gatherings, like as a whole.
Well, how is this affecting people mentally?
Oh
you
yeah,
know?
true. Like
Because it's like, especially people who are so extroverted. I know it's like, I talk to people all the time, and I have to be around people. And if I'm not, then I'm like, I'm gonna go crazy. So it's
literally, I've been begging my friends in our group chat, like, please, can we just like FaceTime over lunch?
yeah.
I can't sit in my room and play video games for 2 more weeks. Like, dog,
Well, it's
I
like,
need to do something else.
and then, you know, like I already said, like, I'm off social media, and even over spring break, I went home for spring break. All my friends were still in school, so it was just me sitting in my room. It was pretty much like, you know, a precursor to what's going on now. Me in my room
the
by
calm before
myself.
the
My
storm.
parents are at work. I'm just like, I'm going crazy in here. And it's like, can't talk. Like, no one talks to me. I can't see what anyone else is doing.
Right.
And it's kind of like, even like right now in this moment, like that is how we all are. It's just, I feel like a lot of people are just not gonna mentally come out of this the same.
Oh,
because,
no.
For sure. Yeah.
You know,
Big time.
it's like I am in a situation where I live with my boyfriend, and my best friend is like dating his roommate, and we're all friends, and we all hang out, and we're all like, woohoo, let's play Animal Crossing in the living room together for 5 hours straight, you know. And it's like, we can do that, and we're gonna be okay with that mental social need that we have. But it's like the people who it's like maybe don't have a car, they really are just sitting in their apartment by themselves.
Or like can't see their therapist because their therapist is
Yeah.
you know busy, or like
There are
they can't see him in person.
They
They've
just sent out emails for like our university, and it was
For that.
like, we're still here for you. Call us if you really need us, and if it's emergency, call 911. I was like, and then they were like, don't forget to stay active. And then it's like, here are some resources from the recreation center, and it's like video links
to like
guide.
to like calisthenics in your room.
Yeah, it's like
and
guided
that's not really fun.
exercises. And I'm like, okay. I was like, I can't do exercises in like the box of a living space.
Listen, I
that
don't want to do the
currently
pacer test
inhabit.
in my bedroom.
But it's like, you know, it's like I went out and went running on the nature trails today. Unfortunately, I did see a lot of people. But like,
That's scary.
you know, but it's one thing where it's like,
Ooh, wait, was it that cult that's out there? There's a cult out there in some of the forests.
no, it was like an old man and his grandchild, you know, like
Nice.
Well, you can't
All
say
the-
that's
all
not a
the
cult.
people are like, well, now I'm
Nice.
stuck with these kids. Let's take them outdoors. But it's like, the gym's closed. No one can go work out. And it's like, not
Yeah.
everyone's going to frickin' run in the woods, because why? Honestly, I regret that decision. But like, it's so hard to stay like, you know,
Yeah.
you don't have therapists anymore. A lot of people need that.
Some
You
people
don't
like even
have
like
ways-
exercise for like playing sports
Yeah,
and
well,
like
it's like, and then keeping physically active is a good way to stay like mentally stable. And it's like, we're losing all of these things. We're taking away being social. We're taking away, you know, therapy. We're
Yeah.
taking away physical activity.
But also, I think on the
I'm
flip
glad we
side
got
of
that on
this,
video.
I think a lot of people who in like just let's say the past have been struggling with like mental health and things like that are now probably looking at the light at the end of the tunnel like, oh, I used to do so many cool and great things. I had the opportunity to. Now I'm forced to do nothing. If I were in that position, I would probably there's so much more I want to do now that I couldn't do. So I hope this gets through, and I hope I can make it through this and be better because of it, so I can be able to do these things. Let's say someone who's really depressed, really kept to themselves in the rooms and they're quiet and didn't really do a whole lot before all this. Now there's man, I used to do this, I used to do that, I miss doing this, and they're looking at the world from a more possibly optimistic point of view because they used to be able to do things, now they can't. There's I think a take that could, if there's a positive to pull out of all this absolute nonsense, I think that's a slight positive that probably could be happening.
Or it's the opposite.
True. Yeah, that's also
Yeah.
just something I thought about. Yeah.
But that doesn't mean something that possibly.
Yeah.
Well, and that's, I mean, we've kind of talked about the social and the emotional and stuff. Of course, I would want to hear y'all's input on the theological rant. How are you spiritually? How do you feel overall your friends and family are dealing, because it is
Right.
just overwhelming on so many levels.
Spiritually. Oh, if Jordan wants to go first, she can go first.
Simone was talking about being an extrovert, and I'm very much an introvert, and this whole thing has pushed me deeper into my faith because I have not stopped praying because I'm so worried about everyone dying, or oh my gosh, what if I have it and I go out and try and find toilet paper today and I get too close to an old person and then give it to them and then they're dead and I kill an entire generation of people and that sucks. Or
Right.
what if I I don't know, give it to my choir teacher's newborn baby? I don't want to do that. I don't want to kill these kids or these people or do any of that. And I still have to go to work because there's absolutely no way that they're going to shut that down, which I understand. But all my employees are coughing in my face and I'm okay, what am I? So now I'm at work sobbing and praying that hopefully this will end sometime soon so that I don't have to keep worrying about it, or think about possibly being a murderer for killing a generation of people, or all the people with autoimmune diseases that can so easily get this now. Yeah, that's where I'm at.
So
spiritually.
yeah, praying and crying. Got
Yeah,
it. Okay,
yeah, for sure.
It's a good theological balance there. Yeah.
Spiritually, I'm okay. Granted, it sucks not being able to go to church. It sucks not being able to teach, helping with my youth pastor teach confirmation class, because I get so much out of that. I get so much interactions, teaching the kids stuff. So that really sucks. But I would think spiritually I'm okay. Granted, I'm pretty blessed to say that not much of this stuff has affected me. My classes are pretty easy transition to online. It's not really that much work intensive. My work's staying busy. I'm getting paid. I'm technically working more hours now than I was when school was in session, so I can't complain about that. And I'm pretty healthy, pretty happy. I'm doing pretty good, so I can't complain there. But I think spiritually I'm okay because I understand things happen for a reason. We've had multiple diseases throughout history. To act like this is the first one that God's ever just sent upon us, oh God, why are you doing this? It's I don't look at it that way. This has happened before. We will grow and learn from this as people, and God's just going to be there to help us get through it. So spiritually, I'm fine. I'm not wavering, nor is any of this even try to come or make a chink in my shield of faith.
My church hasn't closed down yet in the area,
Yikes.
which is interesting. I did not go due to migraines the past week. And of course, if I showed up to church and I was I don't feel good, all of them would be get out. But, it's just kind of crazy. My home church in Tarpon Springs did shut down. They closed already. But it's just one of those things where, not, I haven't gone, and I'm assuming that they will eventually stop having services. But, not being able to go is just one of those things that's I don't push myself hard enough, and I know that, which is why I have to continually go back to church. And it's especially during Lent, I've been going twice a week, And it's like I have to keep pushing myself and going so that I can hear the word of God, and that someone is like there telling me what I should be like reading on my own. But so I think that's one of the things that I'm just like worried about in that case. And I know this isn't gonna like shake my faith. This isn't gonna make me go, God, you're not real and you don't love us. But like, it's definitely it'll be weird to like be put out of that setting to a way.
I'm curious, other than Simone, because you just said this, has everyone else's churches like stopped or transitioned to being online?
Mine just
Yep.
this last Sunday completely transitioned to streaming online, and they have it set up to where like that's the only way we're gonna have services.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty much all Methodist churches in the area have
Mm.
been told, if they weren't already doing it, to stop. There's some that are talking about doing like drive-through church where, you know, you can sit in
Can I
your
get
car
a
and have church.
Corinthians
That kind of stuff.
3:15 with a
Interesting.
side of Jeremiah 3:16?
Drive-through
Yeah,
churches.
it's weird, but you know, but I'm interested to see how it goes. But
Yeah.
it's a different, and you know, again, they get like, earlier we talked about what is marriage, you know, like what is religion, you know, I mean, what,
Yeah.
like, you know, how is it getting up on Sunday morning and dressing nice and going somewhere, or, you know, now we kind of have to redefine that, and we
Yeah.
have to, you know, kind of make it our own, and it's not just I'll just show up and maybe think about what the minister's saying and maybe listen to the songs, but it's like, oh, I have to kind of work on my own spirituality, and that's new for some of us, I think.
Yeah, and I think it sucks a lot for like our Wesley students, because like I know I get a lot of enjoyment for like our Mondays and Thursday night like discussions and stuff, and like that definitely helps keep my faith like on the straight path. So I'm sure a lot of us probably are like missing that, you know, from our lives.
I think that's the big question that's being asked a lot is like, yeah, church is changing right now as we go online, but how do you rebuild the community that you get every Sunday from church?
For sure.
And like I know, like especially being in seminary, like having that conversation of like a lot of people come to church for the community, and yeah, some people come to church just to come to church and, you know, for the appearances, but a lot of people come for the community. And how do you create that community when you can't be in community? Like, and how is this going to change the church from here on out? Like, is community going to be a bigger impact, or are we suddenly going to all start watching church online and lose the community aspect of church? And like, how do you pastor in that, and how do you be a member in that, and how do you adjust and transition in all of this, and like, what are the expectations, and how do you define church, and like, how do you change that definition from what it's always been for a time like this? And it seems like really, really big questions that, especially as a seminary student who's like, you're going to have to pastor someone one day. It's like, I have no idea any of the answers to any of this.
That's the wrong answer.
Yeah.
You're saying you have to
How can
like
I
make up
pastor
something on
Yes,
the
I
fly.
love her 47
Yeah,
on
so
YouTube.
it's like a weird, especially as someone who's going to be ordained, like, what is the church going to look like after this, and how is that going to change being an ordained pastor?
Yeah.
Not just like spiritual, like being a member, but also like from the other side of things. It's a big what if kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, with Wesley, I always kind of thought, you know, we're a community. We call ourselves a fellowship,
Yeah.
you know, like, and so we're very analog. We're not digital. And so now it's like, oh, wait, I got to get some cameras and some microphones together and, you know, be
Film a
on
podcast.
video and stuff. And like, you know, so yeah, it's like a total. And I was talking to somebody this week, and they were like, well, how are things in the church? And, you know, I started talking about all the digital stuff, and she was like, you know, Stuart, I was talking about like, what are you doing to help the poor and all that? And I'm like, oh yeah, there's that side of it too.
Yeah.
You know, like I just totally did not hear the question because I was in such, you know, how do I suddenly become a video editor in my spare time? Because I didn't take that seminary class. And so, you know, it's just
I
like,
would love to take that seminary
yeah,
class.
you know,
That'd be an
like-
interesting seminary
yeah,
class.
but you know, it's just it's a whole, you know, and I think that's going to be something is in tragedy, which unfortunately this is probably going to be something
sure,
very
yeah.
tragic. You know, the church usually steps up, and hopefully steps up quickly and thoughtfully, and finds a way to bring community. So I'm hoping and praying that, you know, this will be a moment for the church to shine in a dark time.
Mhm.
You know, which we can always hope and pray that God puts the right people in the right place to make that happen. I have no idea what that's going to look like, but it's just something I have been encouraged by. I went by a church today to change out some equipment and stuff because I was thinking digital, and they were like, "Oh, we just got done feeding the homeless down at the whatever," and I'm like, "Yeah, that's what you're supposed to be doing," and so
for sure.
it was good to hear, like, because it was like the first time I had talked to anyone outside of my family in person, and it was kind of like, tell me everything, and they were like, I've been feeding homeless people. I'm like, well done, like, way to go, you. So
That's awesome.
that kind of thing, that like I think the church will hopefully be ready to step into that role, when we figure out how bad or weird this is going to be.
Yeah. It's definitely interesting, just going off of kind of where you were going, when you aren't around a lot of people and you aren't with that social connectivity kind of thing, it's like you're so in your own head about like, what are my problems and what is going on in my life that I need to deal with right now. And I think that's how everyone is. And it's kind of like, right now you're in that headspace of like, what is Wesley doing? And we got to transition to digital so that we can keep something going. And then it's like, people are out here like, we're feeding the homeless. And you're like, whoa, that like wasn't even in
just completely
my
blew
sight
past.
of vision of like what I should be doing right now. And then I just wanted, like, one of the biggest things that you said was like church brings together community. And I know it's like, I think I'm one of the only people in here who actually, like, because I'm assuming you're from the area if you're coming back here. So, and I'm assuming that you found this when you were in Dallas. But for the rest of y'all, you're all from the area. And I'm from down south. And so it's like, first thing I looked for was a community at a church. And for the past 3 years, I've been building up. I have, like, families that I live with and, like, watch their kids. And, like, I'm really close with, like, some of the other, like, youth in the church. And we're all super tight. And we're one big happy family. And then it's like, now I don't see them. And it's like, being around college students can be so just, like, disorienting
Amen.
sometimes. And so it's like, I go to church and it's kind of like, oh yeah, good, like real people, like adults, and it's like I've lost that whole like safety net of like a good family security blanket kind of thing going on with the church. And it's like, I don't have that anymore. It's just me with a few people looking at what's in front of my face and nothing else.
For sure.
I think, going off what you're saying there with like the community is to, in terms of like smaller group, I guess, not really like community like with a church, but like your friends, it kind of reveals who is truly like interested in rebuilding that even during a crisis.
For sure.
Because I've had friends like reach out to me and stuff like that, in terms of like Instagram or Snapchat, and we still like keep in touch, like even while we can't see each other. And so, these are some people that I don't see every day, even without the pandemic. But then, while the pandemic's happening, they're trying to keep in touch, while people that I see every day don't. And so I think, while this is happening, it really does show the true colors behind people, because even like searching up, like articles that's happening, people get crazy out there. People steal toilet paper.
Literally, I watched a
fighting
video.
people
I
like
literally
all the
watched a
time.
video of like these two ladies beating up this old woman because like she tried. Look, these like two like ladies had like shopping cart like stacked like above their heads, full of toilet paper. They had like all the last toilet paper, and this lady like tried grabbing one from their cart, and they literally tried beating her up for it
Arrest
for
them.
toilet paper.
Yeah, which is
Toilet
something
paper.
that we took for granted before this all happened, and then all of a sudden, days on end, you go into Walmart and there's no toilet paper. Like I'm talking about, even like in the RV section, there's just no toilet paper, tissue paper, baby wipes, all that's gone. And like we're not preparing for the apocalypse. We're just going in for normal toilet paper, and there's none to be found. So, but going back to the community thing, it showed, like this just went down so many rabbit holes.
It's always one thing away from toilet paper.
It's all
always one thing away.
That's where it's coming from.
So when it comes to the communities and stuff like that with churches, like with going online and everything, it shows you that communities are still wanting to still connect, even
Mm-hmm.
if it is still online. Like, we're connecting right now, and we found a way. So with all of it being said, we will change as a society, but I think out of this we will become stronger because of it, and we're just going to have to adapt to the new changes that are coming.
Yeah, for sure. And kind of like to go off what Stuart said earlier about like someone like feeding the homeless. I think, especially with our churches, we're going to see a lot more of local like outreach and ministry work and like mission like work like that locally. I think that's going to be great because I think that's a big problem in our own country. But as someone who goes on mission trips, I'm like thinking, man, these kids and these families that are expecting homes to be built for them every summer, and these people that they see every summer on a regular basis to help like further their faith, they're not. I'm like, we're all like, well, me and my friends, like, we're all worried that we can't go to Peru this summer, Like, we're all extremely worried about that, and not for us, but more or less for the children there, because like most like my friend Jack, he's been to Peru for like 5 years now. He's got a great relationship with this kid named Gustavo, and there's a chance he's not going to see Gustavo. And like, and Gustavo's like this young kid. Like, how's that going to affect that kid and their faith if they're not going to have these giant like organizations of people trying to show them God's love and God's grace, and they're not going to be able to see that, Or on the other side of this part of the Peru, people that are like been waiting for like months or even years to get like a new home built for them. They're not going to get that, They're going to be like stuck in their like tin houses with like horrible living conditions, and like that kind of sucks. Jordan, I saw you had your hand raised. You were going to try to say something.
I was just curious if you had found out if you were going to be able to go, or if the travel ban was going to extend
I've
through July.
right now we don't know, and like the Linda who's in charge of all of Reimagine is constantly keeping us updated with emails and stuff, because she just got back from Peru. She was like literally stuck there once Trump hit the travel ban, and like Peru's like, no, borders are closed. Luckily, she was talking to Peru officials, and they like eventually let her get back home. But we have no idea. I'm hoping and praying this blows over in a month, because I would feel horrible for these kids and these families not getting the one thing that they look forward to every single year. And like, we just started in like a new community as well, and like they saw this growth and progress that's like just started, but like we're not able to be there to like continue to grow these seeds that we've planted a year ago, and that kind of sucks, like a lot.
For sure.
I have no way of really figuring out how to end this, without kind of a doom and gloom moment kind of thing. I was going to read a scripture, not as a way of shutting y'all down or anything, but just as like, this is probably going to be an hour-long video or podcast or whatever it becomes, and people might be like, 60 minutes, no way. So anyway, Romans chapter 5, 1 through 5 says, "Therefore, since we are justified by faith, we have peace with God through our Lord Jesus Christ, through whom we have obtained access to this grace in which we stand, and we boast in our hope of sharing in the glory of God. And not only that, but we also boast in our suffering, knowing that suffering produces endurance, and endurance produces character, and character produces hope. And hope does not disappoint us, because God's love has been poured into our hearts through the Holy Spirit that has been given to us." And so I picked out that scripture just because of the whole concept of like suffering, and that in that hopefully we'll learn what's truly important. We'll find the endurance. We'll find the hope. We'll find that which is truly meaningful and necessary. And I'm just praying that this is not as big a deal as, that we will look back on this podcast thing or this video and just be like, oh, that was a weird time. Instead of like,
bro, remember when we did a podcast?
Yeah. Or just like, before everything fell apart, when they were just talking about, random things that, later on will be like, we were in such a hazy, spring break moment.
I guarantee you, after all this, no one will understand why everyone wants toilet paper. Guarantee you. No one, philosophers will be like, why? Why toilet paper? Why?
That happens at hurricanes.
In the distant future, we don't record all this. They just
there's
do
literally
transaction
gonna be-
history.
There's going to be a
toilet paper
section
going
in
through
our
the
textbooks for like the great toilet paper crisis
No,
of 2020.
All Floridians know is hurricanes, so when they hear
But it's not just in Florida. It's
something
like
is happening,
everywhere.
toilet paper and water, even though we have tap water and it's fine.
Yeah.
And then, of course, once it hits social media, boom, spread.
So, as I said, I can't get y'all off the topic of toilet paper, but
Never
I'm
Fun.
going to say we have to go home because we're done. And it's been great.
Yeah.
We
having
got to
you
go
all
home
here.
to use our toilet
Yeah.
paper.
And I appreciate y'all
I
being
think,
here. Yes, no, Kolby, please
I'm
keep
sorry. I was just
going.
gonna try and end like on a positive note. Like, I think.
Wait,
Well, not saying that we
let's
weren't
see
positive.
this.
I mean, saying
Okay.
we should be saying a lot of
here
like
it comes.
dark stuff, but
I'm positive
I
that the world's
think-
ending.
no, I think if our elected officials, not only in our country but in other countries, continue to be smart, continue to implement things. Not to say like to throw shade against any country, but like not to be like, oh, we've been doing this for a month. I think we're good. Let's just open the floodgates, But just like keep listening to doctors, keep listening to people that like are studying this stuff. Make sure that us as people are smart. Stay home. If we go out, be smart. Don't be right up on someone. And I think over time, very quickly, not like immediately, but I think at least in the next month, I think the cases are going to go down a lot. And I think our scientists are trying extremely hard to find a cure for this. So I think sooner than later than we really expect, all this will kind of be fixed. At least that's how I look at it.
That and going back to the faith thing, we're going to be stronger as a society with this. Even though we don't understand why this is all happening now, maybe something else will happen in the future, and we won't be prepared until this happened. So that's another way to look at it. Is even though this might turn out to be a tragedy, there's still going to be good that happens to the rest of human life.
For sure.
Because of this.
All right. Well, thank y'all for being here.
Of course.
Go with God.
Peace out.
Wave to the cameras. Bye.